Was the world truly ready for a throne built on a bloody, brutal inheritance? Did empires rise and fall solely on the whim of warring generals and the scent of sandalwood? And could a kingdom forged in the shadows of colossal ambitions truly find its footing amidst the churning currents of a continent on the brink? The air in northern China hung thick with the scent of pine and something far less pleasant, the metallic tang of recent battles. It was 471, and 4-year-old Wei Xiaowen was already a king, a tiny, bewildered figure perched on a throne carved from the bones of his ancestors. His grandmother, the Dowager Empress Feng, a woman who'd stared down tradition itself to seize power, was his regent, a formidable shadow ruling through whispers and the cold glint of a blade. She defied ancient laws that demanded the death of a prince's mother, to become the most influential woman in the Bei Wei kingdom. It was a strange, unsettling beginning for a dynasty that would soon attempt to rewrite its very identity. Wei Xiaowen, a boy haunted by the ghosts of his predecessors, wasn't interested in conquest, not at first. He wasn't a warrior, not like his father, who'd spent his life carving out the Bei Wei's territory. Instead, he was obsessed with the ruins of Luoyang, the fallen capital of the Jin dynasty, a city choked by dust and despair after being utterly destroyed. It was a place of ghosts, a place steeped in the memory of a shattered empire. His grandmother, a shrewd strategist, saw the potential. Luoyang wasn't just a ruin, it was a symbol. A symbol of a lost grandeur, a reminder of what the Bei Wei could become. 9 years. 9 years of relentless labor, of hauling stone, of sweating under the relentless sun. The old city crumbled, replaced by a new one, a gleaming, Chinese-inspired capital designed to showcase the Bei Wei's transformation. It wasn't just a city, it was a statement. We are no longer barbarians, we are Chinese. Wei Xiaowen, now a young man, stood before the newly carved Buddhist sculptures, colossal figures of deities gazing down from the cliffs overlooking the city. They weren't just statues, they were a declaration, a testament to the growing influence of Buddhism and, crucially, of Taoism. Taoism, with its focus on alchemy and the pursuit of immortality, had always been a thread woven into the fabric of the Bei Wei court. But under Wei Xiaowen's grandmother, it became something more, a tool of governance. The court alchemist, a man obsessed with concocting elixirs of eternal youth, became a key advisor, his knowledge shaping policy. Confucianism, with its emphasis on hierarchy and order, provided the framework for a new, Chinese-style bureaucracy. Buddhism, with its promise of enlightenment and compassion, offered a comforting narrative, a justification for the emperor's power. It was a carefully constructed marriage of ideologies, a deliberate attempt to erase the Bei Wei's nomadic past and embrace its Chinese heritage. But the ambition didn't stop at Luoyang. Wei Xiaowen, driven by his grandmother's vision, launched a military expedition south, a grand gesture designed to solidify the Bei Wei's claim to China. He marched his army towards the ruins of Luoyang not as a conquering force but as a returning king, a claimant to a lost throne. He didn't fight, he observed. He saw the city's potential, its strategic location, its historical significance. He declared Luoyang to be the new center of the Bei Wei, a symbol of its ambitions. And he died there at the age of 32, a victim of illness and a lifetime of carefully orchestrated power plays. His son Wei Xiaowen, a young man barely past his teens, inherited a kingdom transformed, a kingdom that was both Chinese and something else entirely, a strange, unsettling blend of old and new. He continued his father's project, expanding the capital, promoting Chinese culture, and suppressing the remnants of the Bei Wei's nomadic traditions. He even outlawed the traditional Xianbei dress, forcing his people to adopt Chinese robes, and decreed that only Chinese could be spoken. Meanwhile, to the east, a different kind of drama was unfolding. In the Korean kingdom of Bei, a shadow of fear stretched long and dark. To the north, the Bei Wei were growing in power, their ambitions seemingly boundless. King Gwanggido the Expander, the ruler of Goguryeo, a warrior kingdom that had expanded its territory to encompass much of the Korean peninsula, watched with growing unease. He sent envoys to the Bei Wei seeking an alliance, a desperate plea for protection against the rising tide of Bei Wei power. Goguryeo, under the rule of King Jiangsu, was undergoing a remarkable transformation. For decades, he'd been systematically building his kingdom, consolidating its territory, and transforming it from a collection of scattered tribes into a unified state. He moved the capital from the ancient city of Goguryeo to Pyongyang, a strategic location on the broad plains of the Tidong River. He wasn't just building a city, he was building a nation. He invested in infrastructure, promoted agriculture, and fostered trade. He was, in essence, creating a Korean empire. But Baekje, weakened by the conflict with Goguryeo, was vulnerable. And as Baekje crumbled, another kingdom, Silla, began to rise. Silla, a small, unassuming kingdom nestled between Baekje and Goguryeo, had long been overshadowed by its powerful neighbors. It was a kingdom of farmers and fishermen, a kingdom with little industry and no foreign trade. Its government was rudimentary, its administration chaotic. It was, in short, a kingdom desperately in need of a savior. Then came Chizheng, a king who dared to break with tradition. He declared himself Wang, the Chinese title of king, abandoning the old Silan title of Maripkan. He outlawed some of the kingdom's most ancient and unpleasant customs, such as burying slaves with their masters. He brought in Chinese advisors who taught the people of Silla how to plow with oxen, how to build underground ice cellars, and how to govern themselves. He was, in essence, importing Chinese civilization and forcing it upon his people. Silla's transformation wasn't just about adopting Chinese customs, it was about building a true nation-state. Chizheng established a written code of law, a formal legal system that would govern the kingdom. He introduced a state religion, Buddhism, which would provide a moral framework for his rule. He even began to build a bureaucracy, a system of officials responsible for administering the kingdom. Silla was becoming a nation, a Korean nation, forged in the crucible of ambition and shaped by the influence of China. But as Silla rose, a dark undercurrent began to flow beneath the surface of its newfound stability. In the bustling city of Constantinople, the heart of the Roman Empire, a different kind of conflict was brewing, a conflict not of armies and empires, but of passions and rivalries. It was a conflict born of spectacle, of obsession, of a brutal, all-consuming love. It was the world of chariot racing. The Roman Empire, once a vast and sprawling dominion, was now a shadow of its former self. Italy had fallen to the Ostrogoths, the Western Empire was gone, and the Eastern Empire was shrinking, slowly but surely, under the relentless pressure of the Persians and the barbarian tribes of the Balkans. Constantinople, the city of the Caesars, was all that remained, but the city was not crumbling. It was thriving, fueled by trade, by diplomacy, and by a peculiar passion, chariot racing. It wasn't a sport for the elite, it was a citywide phenomenon, a daily obsession that consumed the lives of ordinary citizens. Spectators filled the hippodrome, a vast arena that echoed with the thunder of horses' hooves and the roar of the crowd. They weren't just watching races, they were investing in them, identifying with the teams, the drivers, and the colors. The teams weren't defined by individual drivers or their horses. They were sponsored by wealthy merchants and powerful families, each one using a distinct color as their symbol: red, white, blue, and green. The blues, the whites, the greens, these weren't just teams, they were factions, tribes, rivalries that ran deeper than any political or economic divide. The fans were fanatical, utterly devoted to their chosen color. They would spend their entire savings on tickets, on bets, on lavish displays of loyalty. They would travel from far and wide to attend the races, and they would engage in increasingly violent confrontations with the fans of rival teams. In 501, a riot over a race result left 3,000 blues dead. In 507 and 515, more riots erupted, claiming hundreds more lives. The violence was irrational, senseless. Scholars tried to explain it by finding deeper reasons for the hostility. Perhaps the Reds were aristocrats and the Whites were merchants, or maybe the Greens were inclined to Chalcedonian Christianity while the Blues preferred the heresies of Monophysitism. but none of these explanations truly held up. The fans simply hated each other with a zeal that bordered on madness, like soccer fans locked in a bitter feud. As the empire crumbled and as the Eastern Roman Empire increasingly turned its face toward the east, this internal conflict, this senseless violence became a microcosm of the empire's larger problems. Anastasius, the emperor who had desperately tried to hold the empire together, built a wall to keep out the barbarians, only to find that the greatest threat came from within. The Long Wall, a 50-mile-long barrier that encircled Constantinople, was a symbol of the empire's decline, a testament to its inability to defend itself against both external and internal enemies. It divided the city, turning it into an island, isolating it from the world. It was a monument to a lost glory, a reminder of the empire's shrinking borders and its dwindling power. And as the sun set on the reign of Anastasius, casting long shadows over the city, one question lingered in the air. Could a kingdom built on ambition, on borrowed traditions, and on the fervent passions of its people truly survive? Could a civilization once defined by its grandeur and its power find a new purpose in the ruins of its past? Or was it destined to fade away, consumed by the flames of its own internal conflicts, a cautionary tale of empires lost and passions untamed?